Hello and welcome to another edition of the Scottish Student Sport BiteSSSize Best Practice Webinars. To view our previous webinars, just go to the Scottish Student Sport website or search for our YouTube channel. This webinar is presented by Georgia Moran and Fraser Reynolds from Edinburgh Napier University and gives insight into how the university has changed the way club committees are being trained using an innovative online learning platform.
Hi everyone, we are Georgia and Fraser from the Edinburgh Napier Students Association. I'm the VP of Sports and Societies.
And I'm Fraser and I'm the Club and Society Support Coordinator here at Napier.
So we're going to tell you a little bit about our new committee training programme that we introduced this year. So first we'll kind of give you the problem, then we'll go into a bit of the solutions and what it kind of looks like, how it works, and then just a bit of how the feedback's gone and how we're going to change it into next year. So yeah, why this all came about. We used to do like away days at Edinburgh Zoo and things like that, and we just crammed everyone in one kind of just day and kind of fly through everything in a oneer. And then we also used to do little residentials. The issue with these two, that we found with these two methods of doing our committee training, was with the away days we could only take around like 50 people, maybe sometimes more, and then what happened is that a lot of people couldn't come due to like work and holidays and all those types of things, so we used to miss out a lot of people. So to give you numbers, we used to take around maybe even 60 out of like 300, which was a bit crazy. So we used to follow up with like little bits of online stuff, but it never really took off. So last year we looked into an online kind of program, which is obviously we'll tell you a bit more about that. But other bits and pieces that we got from clubs feedback wise was just an overload of information, too much stuff at once. People just couldn't keep up, which is understandable because they get introduced to these so many different processes, so many different rules that they have to follow. Some of them could be like just left first year, so they're just going into second year and they're now in charge of a full sports club or a full society. So it was quite a lot. So that was kind of what stemmed our kind of thinking towards moving it online and things like that. Another thing was that it used to cost quite a lot of money to take people away or to do away days. So we actually are now saving a lot of money and it's working out really well. And yeah, just on the away day side of it, ended up turning into a bit of a kind of social with the sports clubs and societies, which is great. Like that kind of element of it was really, really great. So we tried to capture that throughout the online training program as well, which we'll tell you a lot more about.
So yeah, it's also worth saying there that one of the big things is, although we've only got 25 sports clubs, we also train societies as well, which is at exactly the same time. So there is differentials between the two of them. Sports clubs need maybe a little bit more training on bucks regulations, etc., than societies do, and trying to find something that kept everyone interested is obviously a problem in a one-off scenario, without having to do 2 days, which just adds more time and cost, etc., to it. So yeah, what we looked to do is we were still evaluating doing a away day, but just try to work out how we made it better. But we put down a matrix of looking at the cost, the space, the training elements that we wanted to get out of it, and we just felt that there was no real away day solution that was really ticking all our boxes. And myself and Georgia were both kind of keen on some sort of online training. Obviously, blended learning ideas and online stuff's becoming more prevalent across university systems as well, so it fitted quite well with that. We ended up saying that all committee members had to complete this, so it did become a bit of a little bit of a task for us to make sure everyone did it, but on the whole it was really good to make sure that we knew everyone that was going to go through the training, rather than just hoping that the committee members that came along to something passed on that information to everyone else, and that would be done in various bits. And we made that the clubs would have to complete it all and make sure as a club they were completing it, so there was a bit of a team aspect to it as well, rather than just putting it all on the individuals. If the clubs didn't complete it, there would be penalties, so we had things we did limit the clubs if they didn't have their training completed by the end of the year. They wouldn't be allowed at Freshers Fair to promote, so it was a big incentive for them to actually get through that. And also any committee member that wasn't trained would be removed from their committee. We also made sure that everything was in one place so that it really allowed for a one-stop shop. We'd done it before. We'd had a big booklet of stuff, the committee handbook, which was just a huge online tool, but also something that they could print off that was just loads of pieces of paper, loads of sheets and loads of words that really nobody was going to pick up and flick through, because you don't know which page, even if it's got a contents page, it's quite hard to find it, whereas an online system meant that it was all broken down into sections, which we'll come on to in a little bit. It also meant we could put in videos there, we could put in the files that they need to download for different things, and also we had flowcharts on processes, etc., to really try and make everything as easy and effective as possible, rather than just big text blocks.
Yeah, just on the kind of incentive side of it, we'll talk about how it works in a minute, but just to give you stats, it was actually all of our sports teams, so we gave them until I think it was like August the 31st, and we opened it in like June, so they had June, July and August. All of our sports clubs, every single one of them, all their committee members completed it, so it was there was a little bit of a push in that kind of last week of August. We were like, right guys, you got to get that done, so they all kind of sorted it. It was only actually like one or two societies, if my memory is correct, that didn't do it, so we got a really good uptake from the sports teams and a lot of commitment from them, so that was good, just to give you a bit of that. Yeah, so on the right, I'll just point out, this is kind of what it looks like to the clubs. When they go on there, they see like there's a welcome, and then there's a few different things, and then they'll have their block 1 quiz, etc. Block 2, block 3 and block 4. We released it in 4 blocks just to give people time to do it over the summer. So a lot of the kind of feedback we got from the away days and the away weekends was that like a lot of people, like for example, go to like America and do Camp America and stuff like that. I did that when I was when I was president of the hockey team back a few years ago, and I couldn't attend some of the stuff. So releasing it in blocks gave people like that a chance. If they were working over summer or they were away traveling or whatever, it gave people a chance. But yeah, so on the right you'll see our kind of list of things, so everything from like health and safety, social media, code of conducts, all that kind of stuff is in there. All of our policy documents are in there, the resources that they'll need, the forms they'll need, videos like Fraser mentioned, and we flowcharts and little pictures, like one at the bottom which kind of shows you our makeup of our core committee, and if they want to add any kind of subcommittee, any different things. So yeah, how we kind of got to where we are, we looked at a few different kind of online platforms. I know Heriot Watt used another one, and we looked at that, and then we ended up actually just going with Moodle because it made a lot of sense. We kind of dived into how we would make it work really well, which and it really does work and it really flows. So obviously all the students access Moodle like it will be at most universities, if not all, I'm not sure. But Moodle has worked really well because the clubs and societies, they're all like, they have to use Moodle all the time. There was no real teething problems with Moodle because we just sent a link to the sports training and the societies training. As Fraser mentioned, they were a bit separate. And yeah, they clicked the link and that was them in, and they saw block 1, and then over the kind of over summer we released them and let the clubs know. A lot of people did just leave it until the end, so they waited until block 4 came out. They fired through it all in a kind of one day, like and just kind of did it in a winner. The reason we put the quizzes at the end, just to kind of test their knowledge, to make sure that they're not just reading it and not really taking much of it in. Like the quizzes aren't exactly like ridiculously hard. We didn't want to kind of make it impossible for clubs to pass or whatever. But it's just like pretty generic questions on little processes and little things that they need to do if they come in the office, and things like that. One thing to mention is we ran a little bit of a competition because it was the first time we had done this, we haven't really talked about if we'll do it again, but we probably will because it worked, is the first club and first society that got over the line, or whatever you would like to call it, who got all their committee members passed before the date. They won, I think it was like £50 for our union bar. So £50 behind the bar, we incentive. You could use it for food or alcohol, whichever they fancied, and that really worked quite well. People were like quite keen for that. So yeah, once we had kind of come up with how it would look and what we wanted to achieve from it, we decided that we didn't want just a whole online committee training and then that be it throughout the year. So we wanted to have regular workshops, whether that be ran by myself, Fraser, or any of the other staff members in ENSA, or it was bringing in externals to do like the look after your mate training, mental health stuff, or the bystander training, all those types of things. So we kind of had things dotted about over the year. Like we've got one coming up, which is about AGMs, and we're kind of looking at redoing our committee structure at the moment. So that actually picture in front of you probably won't be what it looks like, but there you go. So we've got one of them coming up, and then we'll just revamp that and redo it again as of September. So that's one thing to mention, is that it's not just completely online. We are doing stuff face to face, and obviously we see the clubs and societies like every day, so there's still that face to face contact. And then just another thing to add is that this programme is open all year round. One thing that we were quite amazed at when we were looking at the stats, because you can see who goes on Moodle, was that maybe in like November time, me and you just had a quick look and we were like, oh, people are still actually going in and like pulling out files, or going in and looking at a flow chart to see how you get this done or that done. And we were actually quite surprised by that, which is really good. So we'll definitely use that that stats and that feedback into next year to see how we can make it a bit more relevant throughout the year. So if we add things into it in January time, if there's any changes, those types of things. So that was quite a good thing to see. And then it's open all year, so people can keep referring back. And one thing I think we've seen in the office is that like before, we used to get a lot of people, new committee members coming in and being like, I absolutely have no idea how to book a bus, and we'd have to sit and tell them, or they didn't have a clue how to get money reimbursed from their club account, those types of things. We've definitely seen a lot less people like that come in. A lot more of them are really equipped to go in and to the year, and just they're ready to kind of go with the basics. And then obviously things crop up all the time, and we'll support them in any way that we can. So yeah, I think that kind of answers how it kind of works, what it looks like. Obviously, if you like any questions on that, we can send a bit more information of the actual context and content within each of these blocks that you'll see on the right. So yeah.
I would say the one thing on that is also that we can add students throughout the year as well. So when we get clubs that maybe have had to change committees, because that does happen, and we got a little bit of that at September, but because committees are picked way back in sort of April time, people get through the summer and they've left uni or things crop up, and it means we can give them straight away access to the same training, rather than having to do, we can't really train you, you just need to learn from other people. They do have that resource that they can flick through and really find it. So I think that's worked well with bringing new committee members on board for a lot of clubs.
We made that a requirement as well. Like if I knew, like, so our men's hockey is a good example. We're starting up a men's hockey team this year. We used to have one years ago, and this is us kind of getting back to starting again with them. And one thing we said was, before we kind of do anything with them, whether it be finances or booking friendlies or those types of things, the three core committee had to do their committee training, and the boys really just like jumped on that and just got it done, and really committed to it. So it's been really handy being able to add people all year. Cool.
So obviously this was the first year we did it. It was we didn't really pilot it first. So this first year was all about just roll out and see how it goes. We had kind of ideas that we tried to use some knowledge and some resources around the place to make sure we could make it as good as possible. But obviously we didn't really know how it was going to go until we got going. So the one thing we did at the end of block 4 is we put in a feedback module as well to try and get as many students that went through it as possible to actually deliver it. So stats that we've pulled out are very much just the sports side of it. As I say, we split it. It allowed us to split it between sports and societies and tailor it. Some modules are exactly the same under what is ENSA, etc., but we could also really tailor it to them, which is great for us. And so we ended up with 167 students trained across our 25 sports clubs. So you can see that quite a few of them have quite large committees as well, just to make up that number. So it meant that we really reached a lot of students. From that, we got 91% of the students said they preferred the online training. Probably the only comments that was that people still like to retain information face-to-face. But having checked a few of them out, a lot of it is people that haven't actually gone through training before with us. So a lot of the people that had done it previously have said that they preferred the online version because they weren't just doing the same thing, and it meant that if they knew more they could get through it quicker versus the ones that were slow, that could take more time to do it. And then 91% of the students felt they were prepared for their year on committee, which we don't have the stats from beforehand, but minimum we could only really say that the ones that went to training were the ones that were prepared.
Which is nowhere near that number.
Yeah. So it kind of shows us that the people that preferred the online training were quite happy, and then the other people were a little bit. To be fair, I would say that some of the 91 were those that felt prepared or very prepared. There was still another set that said they were unsure, so they weren't like saying they weren't prepared at all, which was pretty good. We also just asked for ad hoc comments on it, and probably a huge majority of them said, when we kind of ran all the things in a word cloud format, was that most of the stuff that was coming through were the words of flexible and convenient. A lot of people talking whether they were abroad and they were doing it, or they could do it on their phone, or they just could do it in their own time, and also the ability to be flexible with it was great. The one thing that really has informed what we're looking to do next year is that over half of the people said that they would have preferred it released in one block. So a lot of people did hold off till the end and just buzz through it, or they did block 1 and then waited until block 4 to redo it. So we kind of hoped that we could theme it a bit better across the summer, but I think to keep it flexible, opening it up for the full time would be the better option. So that is definitely something that we're going to edit to this year. We'll still have it in a block format. It will just be the release will be all in one go so that people can go through it and not have to wait on each block. There was probably a small minority of people, about 10%, that actually did do it block by block as it was released. And I think they found it really helpful, but a lot of people did just want to get into it, because each block was probably, once you went through it, depending how much experience you had, between 30 and 45 minutes. Some people maybe took over an hour, but it was very much just the ability to do it. And then the other thing was more face-to-face content, and we kind of had toyed with that. We had a really good session at the start of the year, which was our sort of welcome session and how to have an effective freshers/welcome week. And that was really well attended, better attended than any sort of turn-up session. I think that was because people were engaged across the summer with the content and were keen to get straight back into it. A lot more people wanted more face-to-face. The challenge we've got with that is that it is the summer, so a lot of people aren't here. We did run a couple of Facebook Live sessions within our committee groups to just chat through problems and issues that people had, to try and engage that. They weren't overly greatly attended, but then they were left there for people to come on and look at
whenever they needed to.
Over. So so that was kind of the main feedback from it. So all in all, really positive feedback. Just a few changes that we knew we were going to have to make anyway, just based on that, and kind of want to grow it each year and make it better. And this year we've already put in a lot of effort into making sure these changes happen going forward.
Cool. I don't know if there's anything else to add. We're looking forward to putting it out again next year. Hopefully we'll just keep growing and growing, and I think that's one thing we haven't mentioned, is that like when we get if we keep growing and keep growing like where we're at the moment with society, club and societies members in general, obviously that adds to more committee members, and this platform just allows you to just handle everyone, and it just really covers everyone. So really excited to move on to next year and just revamp it and like Fraser said, get a lot more of that face-to-face content on board. And yeah, thank you very much for having us, Triple S. Like I'm sure Neil and etc. will allow questions when this comes out, but if anyone has any questions, hit us up. We're always free to chat. But yeah, great.
A massive thank you to George and Fraser for that excellent presentation. Some really interesting insight into the challenges and impacts of moving their training process online. Thanks for listening to another episode of Scottish Student Sports Bite-Size Best Practice Webinars.